Good evening. Let your body find wherever it is most comfortable right now. Let your shoulders ease a little. Let your jaw soften. There is nothing to figure out tonight, nothing to decide. You are just here in the quiet, and that is exactly right. Tonight, we are going to think slowly about something most of us never quite see happening to us. Something very ordinary and very human. It is the quiet way that spending tends to rise whenever income rises. The gentle drift toward more, even when the more does not make us feel any better. We are not going to rush through this. We are going to turn it over slowly, the way you might turn a smooth stone in your hand before you fall asleep. So settle in, take one soft breath, and let's begin. Imagine a morning some years ago when you opened your email or walked into your manager's office and you learned that your pay was going up. Maybe it was a small raise. Maybe it was a bigger one. Maybe it was a new job entirely at a noticeably higher salary. There was a feeling that came with that news. A quiet sense of relief, maybe, or a small surge of hope. You did a little arithmetic in your head, imagining what life would feel like with this extra amount arriving each month. You thought, now things will feel easier. And for a little while, perhaps they did. But then something happened. Something slow and almost invisible. Your spending, almost on its own, without any dramatic decision, began to drift upward. Maybe you started ordering delivery a little more often. Maybe you let yourself buy the nicer version of something. Maybe you moved to a slightly larger flat, or upgraded the car, or started saying yes to things you used to say no to. None of these were reckless choices. Each one felt entirely reasonable. You were earning more. You deserved to enjoy it a little. And yet, a year later, you might have noticed that things did not actually feel much easier. The month still felt tight at the end. The sense of relief had faded. The raise had somehow been absorbed into ordinary life without leaving a lasting trace. This is not a failure of character. It is not a sign that you are bad with money. It is simply one of the most human things that exists. It even has a name. Economists call it the hedonic treadmill. A gentler image might be an invisible escalator, one that only goes up. The idea is simple. as your income rises, your standard of living tends to rise with it. And as your standard of living rises, the things that once felt like luxuries begin to feel like necessities. And the things that once felt like necessities begin to feel like the bare minimum. The escalator carries you upward, but the scenery does not change very much. You are simply higher now, looking down at where you were, and from this new height, ordinary things feel ordinary again. Think of it this way. When you first moved into your own place, even a small one may be a little cramped, maybe a little noisy. There was something quietly wonderful about it. The independence of it, the particular pleasure of a space that was yours. A few years later, perhaps you moved somewhere nicer, more space, a quieter street, and very quickly the new place became simply where you lived, not special, just home. The old place, which once felt like an achievement, began to seem a little small in memory, a little basic. This is the escalator. It does not ask permission. It simply moves. And the tricky thing is, it moves in both directions of perception. What we have today always comes to feel like the floor. Whatever is above us always looks like the ceiling we want to reach. There is a quiet irony tucked inside most pay rises. At the moment a raise arrives, it feels significant. It feels like change, like breathing room. But our minds are extraordinarily good at adapting. We adapt to comfort very quickly. We adapt to ease very quickly. Within weeks, or sometimes just days, the new income level has become the new normal. The baseline, the amount we no longer consciously notice. And then the things we spent the extra money on, the nicer coffee, the upgraded subscription, the extra weekend away, they also become normal. They lose their glow. This is not a flaw in how we are built. This adaptation is actually useful in other parts of life. It is what allows us to recover from difficult things. It is resilience, wearing a strange disguise. But when it comes to money, it creates a puzzle. Because if every raise simply resets our baseline, if comfort always becomes ordinary, then how much is ever truly enough? How much income would actually make us feel financially secure if the goalpost moves every time we get closer to it? The answer, if we leave it to chance, is always just a little more than we have now. And that is exhausting, even to think about. So let's think about something quieter instead. There is a space, a small, quiet space between what comes in and what goes out. In finance, people sometimes call this the savings rate, but that is a clinical term for something that is actually quite intimate. Let's call it the gap, your personal gap, the distance between what you earn and what you spend. The size of this gap matters enormously over a lifetime, more perhaps than how much you earn. Here is a gentle way to think about it. Two people both earn the same amount. One spends nearly all of it. One keeps a modest slice of it, year after year, quietly, steadily, without fanfare. After 10 years, 20 years, the person who kept the gap has something the other does not. Not just money in a fund or an account. They have options, choices, a kind of invisible freedom that has been building slowly in the background of their life. They can take a lower paying job that they love more. They can take time away when something difficult happens. They can make decisions from a position of calm rather than urgency. This is what the gap creates. Not just numbers, breathing room. And here is the thing about the hedonic treadmill. You can step off it, not by earning less, not by punishing yourself, but by choosing deliberately and gently not to let your spending chase your income all the way to the top. You let the income rise, and you let the spending stay a little lower. You keep the gap. It sounds simple, and in some ways it is, but it requires you to do something that does not come naturally. It requires you to feel the raise, notice the relief, and then quietly choose not to spend all of it. Not because spending is wrong, not because enjoyment is bad, but because the gap is where your future freedom lies. The phrase living below your means has sometimes gotten a bad reputation. It can sound like deprivation, like wearing a hair shirt, like saying no to everything good in life. That is not what it means, or at least it does not have to mean that. Living below your means is simply choosing that your spending is not the ceiling of what your income allows. It is keeping a little something back. Not all of it, just some of it. Enough to build the gap. Think of a river. The river flows constantly. Water comes in from upstream, from rain, from smaller streams joining the current, and the river flows out toward the sea. imagine that somewhere along the way there is a gentle basin, a natural pool beside the river where a small, steady portion of the water collects. It does not interrupt the flow. The river still moves, but the pool also grows, slowly, quietly, season after season. Your savings can be like that pool. Not a dam, not a dramatic interruption, just a small, steady diversion. A place where a portion of what flows in is allowed to collect, rather than flowing all the way out. You keep the river moving. Life is good, things are enjoyed, and the pool grows. The mistake many people make is treating their income as a budget to be fully spent each month, as if the whole river must reach the sea, as if nothing arriving from upstream is allowed to linger. And spending nearly always expands to fill whatever space it is given. This is almost a law of nature. Give spending more room, and it will use the room every time. So the gentle trick is to not give it all the room. To quietly root some of the river into the pool before spending has a chance to claim it. This is not deprivation. It is simply choosing where the water goes. There is a word that does not get used enough in conversations about money. Enough. Not maximum, not optimized, not peak performance, just enough. It is a word that requires you to do something unusual in modern life. It requires you to decide, to choose a point and say, "This is sufficient. I am not lacking. This is enough for now." Most of the systems around us are not designed to help you reach enough. They are designed to keep you one step short of it, to show you the next thing you could have, the next version, the next upgrade, the next experience that others seem to be enjoying. Contentment is not something the market can sell you. So the market is not particularly interested in helping you find it. But you can find it quietly on your own terms. What does enough look like for you? Not for someone else, not for whoever is ahead of you on the invisible escalator. For you, with your actual life, your actual values, the things that make you feel genuinely peaceful and genuinely well. For some people, enough means a certain kind of home. Not the largest one possible, just one that feels warm and calm and theirs. For some people, enough means time, more than money. Enough savings to work a little less, or to step away for a season, or to choose work they care about even if it pays less. For some people, enough means security, a fund that sits quietly and does not need to be touched. The knowledge that if something goes wrong, they will be all right. These are not small things. These are deeply good things, and they are reachable for most people, not by earning dramatically more, but by choosing gently to stop moving the goalpost. Finding enough is one of the most revolutionary acts available in a world that profits from your dissatisfaction. You do not have to announce it. You do not have to explain it to anyone. You simply decide quietly that this, right here, is enough to build from. There is a particular feeling that comes from watching a savings balance grow. It is not exciting in the way a new purchase is exciting. A new purchase has brightness to it, a flash of novelty, something to show, to use, to enjoy right now. Savings are quieter than that. They accumulate in the background. They do not call for attention, but there is a satisfaction in them that deepens over time rather than fading. The brightness of a purchase is highest the day you make it. Then it dims. The thing becomes ordinary. It lives in your life, and life absorbs it. The satisfaction of savings works differently. It grows with time. It compounds. It becomes something. And here is something worth holding gently in mind as you lie here in the quiet. Money that is saved does not sit still. It is not a pile getting dusty in a corner. When kept in the right place, it participates in the slow, patient growth of the wider economy. It becomes part of the long, upward drift of human productivity over decades. This does not happen quickly. You cannot watch it happen in a day or a week. But over years and decades, a small, consistent gap, maintained patiently, grows into something genuinely meaningful. Not because of dramatic returns, not because of lucky choices, simply because of time. Because the growth builds on itself. Because the pool keeps collecting, and the pool itself generates more flow. Think of a tree. You do not watch a tree grow. You plant something small, and you leave it alone. And years later you look up, and there are branches overhead where there used to be nothing. The growth happened quietly in the background while you were living your life. Your savings, maintained over years, grow something like that. invisible in the day-to-day, present and real over the long span. Banking the gap is not about watching numbers. It is about planting something and letting it grow while you rest. The hedonic treadmill will keep moving. That is simply what it does. You will earn more over the course of your life. Circumstances will change. Opportunities will appear. And with them, the quiet pressure to spend more will always arrive, wearing sensible clothing, sounding entirely reasonable. The point is not to step off the treadmill entirely. That is not really possible, and it is not really desirable. Some of the spending that comes with rising income is genuinely good. A safer car, a warmer home, better food, experiences that matter. These are real improvements. The point is to choose the speed, to notice the treadmill, and to make a deliberate choice about how fast to let it carry you. When income rises, you can let spending rise by the same amount. The treadmill accelerates. Life is nicer in some measurable ways, but the gap stays the same or shrinks. And this is the quieter, more powerful path. You let spending rise by less. You allow some of the increase to be enjoyed. You are not punishing yourself, but you also quietly root some of the new income into the pool, into the gap. Over time, this becomes a habit, and habits are effortless. They happen without decision, without willpower, without agonizing. The first few times you notice a raise and choose not to spend all of it, there is a small friction, a gentle wishing. The mind runs a quick inventory of what it could buy. But if you practice it enough, it becomes simply what you do. The gap is just part of how you live. The pool just keeps filling quietly in the background. And you do not feel deprived, because you never upgraded everything to a level that now feels like the minimum. You stayed at a level that feels comfortable, and comfortable is enough. There is a kind of satisfaction that people who have escaped the treadmill describe. It is not the satisfaction of achievement. It is quieter than that. It is the satisfaction of not wanting, of walking through an ordinary day, a cup of something warm, a walk somewhere pleasant, work that is neither thrilling nor miserable, an evening like this one, and finding that it is, quietly enough. Not settling, not giving up, just arriving at the place where the ordinary life is actually rather good. This is what the hedonic treadmill takes from us if we let it. It does not take our money exactly. It takes our ability to enjoy what we have. Because whatever we have becomes the floor, and the ceiling is always just out of reach. Escaping that is not about money. Not really. It is about attention. It is about noticing what is already good. The warmth of the room, the comfort of the bed, the fact that you are here, breathing slowly, with a voice keeping you gentle company in the dark. These things do not cost very much, and yet they are the texture of a good life. Contentment is a practice. Like any practice, it gets easier with repetition. You can practice noticing what is enough. You can practice feeling gratitude for the ordinary, the way you might practice breathing slowly. Just a small, gentle turning of the attention toward what is already here. And as you practice contentment, something interesting happens to your relationship with money. The urgency fades. The sense that you are always behind, always catching up, begins to quiet down. You are not chasing. You are simply living, and the pool is filling quietly in the background. Here is a thought to carry with you into sleep. The people who tend to feel most at peace with their finances over the long course of a life are not always the people who earned the most. They are often the people who chose a treadmill speed and kept it. They let their lives grow without letting their spending consume the growth. They found their enough, and they built from there. And over decades, the pool became a forest, quiet and deep and theirs. This is not a dramatic story. There is no single moment of breakthrough, no day when everything changed. It is just a long, slow, ordinary accumulation of small, good choices. A raise arrives. Some of it is enjoyed. Some goes to the pool. Life continues. Another raise arrives. The same thing happens. Life continues. Years pass. The pool has become something, not enormous necessarily, but real. And the feeling it creates, that quiet, deep security, is something no single purchase could ever have bought. This is the long view. And the long view, it turns out, is actually rather peaceful. You do not need to fix anything tonight. You do not need to make a plan or change a habit. You just need to understand, somewhere in the back of your mind, that the treadmill is running, and that you have the power to choose how fast it carries you. That understanding, carried gently, does its own quiet work over time. The room is very quiet now. You have thought about something important tonight, about how income and spending tend to travel together, like two old friends who cannot be separated, about how raises dissolve into the ordinary, about the gap and what the gap creates over the years, about contentment and what it feels like to find your enough. You do not need to hold all of this tightly. You do not need to remember the details. The feeling is enough. The quiet sense that there is another way to relate to income and spending. A gentler way, a more deliberate way. Let that rest in you now. Let your breathing slow, just a little. Let the weight of your body settle into wherever you are lying. The day is finished. Your mind has done its work. There is nothing left to figure out tonight. The pool is there, whether or not you think about it. The tree is growing, whether or not you watch it. And the treadmill moves at whatever speed you have set for it while you sleep. You are doing well. Truly, the fact that you are here, thinking gently about these things, means that you are already ahead of where you might otherwise be. Most people never slow down enough to think about the treadmill at all. You did tonight. So rest now. Let the thoughts dissolve like fog in the morning. Let your eyes stay heavy. Let the quiet come in. Tomorrow will ask its questions. Tonight, you have nothing left to answer. Sleep well